You're not overthinking because you're broken. You're not overthinking because you ignored something earlier. Something subtle. Something honest. And you pushed past it. You felt it. And instead of listening, you explained it away. That's what we're talking about today. Hello and welcome to Thrive Within. I'm your host, Marc Bucksath, a life coach, educator, and someone who's passionate about helping you live more fully, honestly in line with who you really are. This podcast is your space for real talk and focused coaching on things like confidence, purpose, boundaries, self-doubt, and personal growth. So whether you're in a walk, taking a break, or just giving your brain a moment to breathe, I am so glad you're here. Let's get into it. And if you stay with me long enough, you'll see that's really what we're always heading towards, helping you stop chasing validation and start trusting yourself. And the way we do that is by learning to follow your inner compass. Your inner compass is that quiet sense of alignment that tells you what's true for you. It's not loud. It doesn't argue. It doesn't panic. It just knows. It's the pause before you say yes. It's the slight hesitation in your stomach. It's the shift in your energy when something just doesn't sit right. The problem isn't that your compass is broken. The problem is that most of us trained ourselves not to trust it. From a young age, we were taught to look outward for direction. Is this acceptable? Will they approve? Does this make me look good? Will this keep the peace? We've all become experts at reading the room. We've lost the ability to read ourselves. And that's where self-doubt begins. Misalignment doesn't start with collapse. It starts with an irritation. Maybe you're shorter than usual. You feel drained after simple conversations. You leave a room thinking, why did that bother me so much? And that's not random. That's your inner compass flashing. Let me make this practical. You're in a meeting at work. Someone says something you don't agree with. You feel that tightening. That compass says that's not right, but you stay quiet. Because you don't want to look difficult. You don't want tension. You don't want to disrupt the room. So you override it. Later that day, you replay the meeting. And you think about what you should have said. You question yourself. You feel irritated. Not just at them, but also at yourself. That's not personality. That's misalignment. Or maybe it's not work. Maybe it's your friend group. The jokes don't land the same. The conversations feel shallow. You leave gatherings more drained than connected. And you tell yourself, oh, it's fine. I'm just tired. I don't know, I shouldn't overthink this. But something in you knows. You've outgrown something. Or something just isn't aligned anymore. That's your compass. But instead of adjusting the situation, you adjust yourself. And over time, that adjustment turns into a quiet resentment. When you ignore the irritation, overthinking moves in. You replay conversations. You analyze tone. You wonder if you were too direct. Or maybe not direct enough. You start to question yourself. You start to ask questions that aren't about alignment anymore. They're about approval. Do they like that? Did I say that right? Do they think less of me? And the more you live there, the weaker self-trust becomes. Not because you're incapable, but because you stopped consulting yourself. Now, there is a stretch in my own life where I kept saying yes to things that just didn't feel right. Nothing dramatic. Just small yeses here and there. Agreeing to things that I just didn't totally, fully believe in. Staying quiet when I had the ability to say something. Taking responsibility because I didn't want to disappoint anybody. And externally, everything looked fine. Internally, I was getting irritated. My fuse got shorter, had less patience, more mental noise, and at first I thought I was just stressed. But I wasn't stressed. I was misaligned. And the more I ignored the signal internally, the louder the overthinking became. I've also been in relationships in the past where I felt the same steady sense of, this isn't fully right. Not explosive conflict, just quiet misalignment. But I stayed longer than I should have. Because leaving would have meant disappointing somebody. Because leaving would have meant being the difficult one. Because leaving would have meant admitting something wasn't aligned. Every time I ignored that signal, I felt smaller. That's the cost. Not drama, disconnection. And here's what most people don't realize. Every time you override your inner compass, you send yourself a message. My truth isn't important. Do that enough times and self-doubt isn't mysterious anymore. It's logical because you trained yourself not to listen. If you ignore your inner compass long enough, you slowly lose touch with who you are. You become adaptable to everyone, flexible in ways that just aren't healthy, and you start performing instead of being. And eventually, you wake up feeling off, but you don't know why. That's not weakness. That's disconnection. There's something else that's happening beneath all this. We live in a culture that rewards validation, social media, performance metrics, constant feedback loops. We get praised for being agreeable. We get rewarded for fitting in. You get noticed for performing well. But no one teaches you how to be aligned. No one teaches you how to sit with that quiet internal signal and say, even if this disappoints someone, it's still true for me. And that's powerful. So what most people do is this. They silence their compass and amplify the room. And over time, the room gets louder. The opinions get louder. The expectations get louder. The comparison gets louder. And your compass, it gets quieter. Not because it disappeared, because it wasn't respected. When was the last time you made a decision without polling 3 other people first? When was the last time you chose something simply because it felt aligned, even if it wasn't impressive? When was the last time you said no without giving a long explanation? That discomfort you feel when I ask that, that's the work. Self-trust isn't built by dramatic life changes. It's built in small moments. When you choose alignment over approval. When you say what's true instead of what's safe. When you disappoint somebody instead of disappointing yourself. That's how your compass gets louder. So here's the shift. I'm not asking you to change your life this week. I'm asking you to notice. Where did the irritation show up? Where did you override yourself? Where did something feel off and you kept going anyway? That's the starting point. Because self-trust doesn't begin with bold confidence. It begins with an honest awareness. The more you listen to your inner compass, the steadier you become. Not louder, not more dramatic, steadier. And when you become steady, you stop chasing validation. You don't need every room to agree with you. You just need to be aligned with yourself. You don't need louder confidence. You need clearer alignment. And that starts by listening to what's already there. If you keep ignoring your inner compass, don't be surprised when you don't recognize yourself anymore. I'll see you next time.